Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa, No Filler. Subscribe if you hate the Blues, right down there, please. I thought I'd just come on here today because it's been a pretty crazy week in the world of Aston Villa, has it not? I'm getting phone calls all day, not all day, every day. I'm getting one or two messages from Arsenal fans saying, "What's going on at Aston Villa? All these players you're getting linked to, mate." I've got Manchester United fans saying, "What's going on down in Birmingham?" And I'm like, maybe it's Birmingham's time to shine, mate. Because Aston Villa, the players we are being linked with right now, very exciting. I mean, look, the week started off with Pau Torres officially signing for Aston Villa. Can I just make one point here as well with that? Alex Moreno, Pau Torres, Tyrone Mings, and Matty Cash, Ezri Konsa as well. If those guys walk in for an audition on the X Factor, Simon Cowell falls over in his seat and says, "I found the new One Direction, only they're better looking." Because let's face it, that must be the best looking defence in the history of football. Steve Bruce and Gary Pallister had nothing on this, I'll tell you that. So, look, hey, thought I'd make that point clear. Pau Torres, big name, Champions League experience, Europa League winner, played with Spanish international as well, played with Unai Emery at Villarreal. So a player that clearly Unai Emery sees something in him that he can bring to Aston Villa that maybe we aren't so great at doing right now. It's an interesting one because I think that Tyrone Mings and Ezri Konsa excelled under Emery last season. I thought, Pau Torres is a left footer, so natural position is probably where Tyrone Mings plays. Anytime Tyrone Mings comes out of that team, you are questioning, the physicality, the organization, the leadership. But maybe if I was to guess, I think it's going to be Torres and Mings as the back two. And Torres' progressive play is a lot better than Ezri Konsa's, though I think Ezri Konsa is a super defender as well. But the sheer depth that Villa have there now with Diego Carlos as well, of course, there's not many others in world football who can have anything comparable. It's quite impressive. It's really impressive. And who's to say that Konsa might not go out and play at right back at times? Who's to say that Torres might not even go out at left back as well, or even Mings? So I'm positive that Unai Emery has spent a lot of time playing with Torres or managing Torres and knows what he can bring to Aston Villa that perhaps we don't have in great depth right now. So that I don't see why we shouldn't be excited at the prospect of a Spanish international in his prime coming to play for Aston Villa. Will it take time to adapt to the Premier League? Oh, hell yeah. But on the ball, he's superb. And we'll have to be patient. It's not going to be, it's probably not going to be an immediate, easy welcome to the Premier League. But this is an experienced defender, so I'm confident and happy about it. So why shouldn't we all be? Look, it's time to get excited as an Aston Villa fan, isn't it? Of course, we have to be, cautious. It can only ever be cautious optimism in football because you never know what's around the corner. But Aston Villa fans have endured so much agony since Martin O'Neill walked out the door, since Tony Gier and his weird tweets, since Lambert ball, McLeish ball, right down into the Championship, barely surviving in the Premier League in our first season back, the disastrous relegation season, all these years of, seeing a team that should be at the top, competing at the top. There's no reason we shouldn't be. Just totally falling apart at the seams, having to endure that for so long, and now seeing Aston Villa finally rising up from the ashes and finally looking at cities like Liverpool and Manchester and London and saying, well, why can't the city of Birmingham, with this massive fan base, with a historic club that has the resources with our ownership, the fan base, the stadium, the lot, to go on and challenge all these top teams? Why can't we dare to believe? So No, we've got the manager, we got the backroom staff now. Monchi, it's built around Unai Emery's vision. Will it work? Look, there's no guarantees it'll work, but in the end, like there's at least a coherence there of vision that gives you surely the best chance of success. And we have an ownership that is very serious about this. Clearly, the North Stand redevelopment, I talked about that last week. Again, a super exciting move forward for the club. And if you think about it, yeah, the transport has to improve. And that's something that Birmingham City Council are definitely going to have to help out with, because the trains have to improve. Let's face it, getting away from Villa Park ain't easy. The parking as well has got to improve, but that's all to come. So, no, very exciting time indeed. Now, who else have we been linked with? Moussa Diaby, Bayer Leverkusen winger Moussa Diaby, French international. Again, another international for a top international team. Look, Bundesliga wingers have not done very well in the Premier League in recent years when they've come in. Jadon Sancho was fantastic at Borussia Dortmund. It hasn't worked for him yet at Manchester United. Timo Werner did very well at RB Leipzig. Didn't work for him at Chelsea and has gone back to Leipzig since then. Leon Bailey, a player who was not always consistent at Leverkusen, but, looked quality. I'd say he's probably done the same thing at Villa, though his stats at Leverkusen were better than what he's produced at Villa. And I think Bailey's problem is his consistency, isn't it? There's games like, for instance, the Manchester United 3-1, where he was absolutely fantastic, unplayable. But then there's games where you just think the guy goes missing, and there's no rhyme or reason as to why that is. Sometimes it's just his first touch on the day, and if it's good, he has a great game. But if it ain't, you're sort of wondering, well, is he going to be all right? Is he? So, Bailey effectively needs, according to the Daily Mail, he's available for transfer. But if he's to stay, to have competition in someone like Diaby, or to be fair, player like Diaby, who he's played with before, might not be a bad thing. So Diaby tends to play on the right, loves to cut inside, can also play on the left. So those are his strongest positions. I spoke to Max Merrill, who is a Bundesliga expert. He's a reporter. He also follows Bayer Leverkusen as a supporter, so he really knows his stuff when it comes to this. I talked to him the other day, and he thinks that Diaby is a better player than Bailey. He thinks that Diaby is a player who is a Champions League level player. So that's a word of caution. If Villa are to go for him, and there are other Champions League, if there are Champions League clubs who maybe have thought about going for Diaby, maybe Aston Villa will force them to say, oh, he might actually go, we should go for him now. But at the same time, Aston Villa seem very keen to get him. According to Fabrizio Romano, offered 35 million plus add-ons. That got rejected. So we shall see. Leverkusen clearly want more money. There's links today with Saudi club coming in for 50 million, but we need to find out what the veracity of that is. It sounds like they want 50 million. Not sure Villa will go that far, but maybe they will with add-ons. But you can see why Villa wants him. We need a consistent attacker outright. Jadon Philogene-Badace is coming back from Cardiff. I'm intrigued to see what he does in pre-season and whether he sticks around. I would like to see him stick around till January, because so then if Bailey is available and does end up going, does Philogene-Badace come a bit of a project to Unai Emery? Maybe if Diaby turns up, maybe as backup to Diaby and switch the two out. Again, I am cautious about Bundesliga wingers, but Max Merrill, go watch that interview. Certainly set any concerns I have, set me well, I think, and made me believe that Diaby is a pretty serious signing if Villa make it. And look, Monchi, Unai Emery, Diagani at the back. You have to. You just have to trust them really on this. So I see no reason why Villa fans shouldn't be very excited at this link at all. I am excited. I'm excited about everything going on at Aston Villa at the moment. It really feels like something's building, doesn't it? And then another link this week, I did an interview with Ewan Burns, who is a co-founder of Total Italian Football, a Serie A expert, and he talked to me about AC Milan's Charles de Ketelaere. Easy for me to say. Now, 22 years of age, Belgian international, did super well at Club Brugge, a team that we have signed players from previously. Didn't quite work out. And it didn't work out for him after a 35 million euro move to AC Milan last season. Great stats at the age of 21 as an attacking midfielder with Brugge, but he's gone to Milan and it hasn't worked. And talking to Ewan Burns, it sounded to me like he hasn't seen anything really to suggest that it could still work for him at Milan. To talk about what his positive attributes are. Now, what I've seen of him, he looks like quite a languid, technically gifted player. And maybe he's just come into a team where maybe he's gone to a new country, he's gone to a new league, and at a very young age, at a high pressure environment like AC Milan, maybe he just hasn't found the right conditions for him to perform to the highest level that he can. Whereas if he comes to Aston Villa, 25 million is apparently what Villa have bid, according to reports in Italy. If he came to Villa, you would think he'd be playing off Ollie Watkins and he'd be competition for Emi Buendia. Now, it's a bit of a risk because it hasn't worked in Serie A, but football is full of players that have gone to football teams in certain leagues and it hasn't worked. Let's take the great Thierry Henry, one of the greatest strikers who's ever played football, maybe the best Premier League player ever. He came into Arsenal having failed at Juventus. Didn't work for him, did it? So, and then came into Arsenal and got transformed into a striker by Arsene Wenger, found the right manager and found the right conditions. So who's to say that Charles de Ketelaere might not come into Aston Villa and Unai Emery, has a track record of working with players who are quite unfancied, doesn't he? Etienne Capoue didn't do well at Tottenham. Great job at Villarreal. Danjuma, a player who was at Bournemouth, went into Villarreal, went up levels, working with Unai Emery. There's various other examples of that happening with Emery before as well. And, it's a bit of a Monchi Emery style player, isn't it? Someone who's a bit unfancied, has shown before that he has talent. So maybe there is something there that they think they can work with and get the best out of him. And maybe Aston Villa is the environment that he needs to bring the best out of him. And, to be honest, he'd be playing in a position that is Emi Buendia's right now. We also have Coutinho. I suspect Coutinho is going to leave. Emi Buendia, I really like Buendia. I think he's a really talented football player. I've said this a million times before, and I will repeat it. His aim has to be to get into the Argentina national team because the attacking players for Argentina are some of the greatest in the world, and they are consistent. Buendia has that talent. He has that ability. There's a reason he's played for Argentina before, but he ain't as consistent as those other players. Maybe a player like De Ketelaere turning up at Aston Villa, maybe having competition would help Buendia. Maybe it would. Maybe there'd be games where he actually works as that impact sub. And then other games where he can start, do what he needs to do for 60 minutes, and then De Ketelaere or whoever else it is Villa might be linked with, come on and play in that position. So, again, a signing that I think is not obviously a player that you think, oh, that makes sense. But in my head, I'm like, actually, maybe it's a bit of a Monchi Emery signing that. It's the sort of player they might like. And if he does really well in a few years, sell him on for whatever amount of money. I also suspect what might happen is that knowing Monchi's track record, we might just get one or two players you never, might not be too aware of. I wouldn't be surprised if someone turns up from Argentina, Estudiantes. Let's take Montiel, player who turned up at scored the winning penalty in the Europa League final for Sevilla, winning penalty for Argentina, regular Argentina international, turned up at Sevilla a couple of years ago. It wasn't that well known, and look at him now. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if those sorts of things happen as well with Villa. But look, I've got a sore thumb. Actually, I shouldn't have done that. I am super excited about where Aston Villa are going. The pre-season has begun. I can't wait to see what happens, basically. What do you think, Aston Villa fans? Let me know. Write your comments below and let me know what you think about where Aston Villa are going. Because I tell you what, my Arsenal fan friends, my Manchester United fan friends, they're all messaging me. They're saying, what's going on at Villa? And I just have to say, would you bet against Aston Villa? Because I wouldn't. Up the mighty Villa.